So we welcome you to our exploration of biography and the life phases in a way that Mary and I could never have guessed when we started this venture. This has been a journey of vulnerability, collaboration, and connectedness. We're so grateful you're here. It's the reason we're doing this. And either now or if you watch this recording later. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary to talk about what we're going to do this evening, which may or may not surprise you.
Well, what an amazing group of people. Thank you for showing up and welcome. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Wynne. Thank you for being here to celebrate our friend, Linda, our teacher, our colleague. So also we are saying farewell to Novalis Institute. And tonight we are starting out with the interview. It's about 45 minutes long, and we did pre-record it because of the Zoom experience. We thought we would be nervous, but it's interesting. I hope you stick with us for the evening. After the interview, we're going to take a 5-minute break, so you could get a coffee or a tea or popcorn, but please come back for the second half. The second half is so interesting. Linda and I are going to go through her entire life, the 7-year cycles, and there are 12 of them because she's going to be 80 this year. So we're going to be showing her artwork. We're going to be showing the charts that I made and going through the phases. This event is meant to honor Linda and her work. So, Dennis, I'm going to pass to you.
Okay, so we will begin the recording.
We'll see you back in 45 minutes together as a group.
Now, am I supposed to be on mute? Hello to all our friends and colleagues through the Novalis Institute. Oh gosh, my name is Mary Wynne, and I am honored to be here with Linda Bergh, biography teacher from Novalis Institute. I'm going to light a candle to set our space and our time, and then Linda is going to say a verse. Okay.
The wishes of the soul are springing. The deeds of the will are thriving. The fruits of life are maturing. I feel my destiny. My destiny finds me. I feel my star. My star finds me. I feel my goals in life. My goals in life are finding me. My soul and the great world are one. Life grows more radiant about me. Life grows more arduous for me. Life grows more abundant within me.
Thank you, Linda. I am one of the biography facilitators living in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and I received my biography facilitation certification from Linda Bergh through the Novalis Institute during 2012 to 2013. I want to preface what we are doing today to say that this is an interview with Linda Bergh, showing her contributions to the Novalis Institute and her work and her legacy to the Steiner biography methods. Although this is not a typical biography class, I will be asking Linda questions that take me into her life story and into the life phases of her chart. So you might see me taking notes. I might be writing on her U chart. And here's a typical U chart that you would get in a biography class with us. And I will be hearing the answers to these questions for the first time. So just to let you know where we are, I am in St. Paul. I'm in the front salon room of my building where I live. And I also keep a private practice here as a Dr. Hauschka esthetician. And Linda is in Minneapolis. She's in her home, which is the site of many Novalis classes. My husband, Paul Abdullah, is also here, and he's kind of directing the show, and you might see him come in and out of the frame. Linda, do you want to make a few comments to start and introduce yourself?
I would. First of all, I want to say that all stories are sacred. And as the little prince said to his rose, you are unique in all the world. I get shivers just knowing that the uniqueness of the human being is one of the gifts. And the other gift is that there's kind of a legacy of a developmental stream that we can study. And what we're seeing in these days is we're living in a time when more and more people are sharing stories. And we're seeing it all around. And we're seeing that it matters to listen to a story and to share your own story. And when I've been doing this for a long time, and I was trained more than half a lifetime ago. And in my work, I had asked people, we're going to end this institution of Novalis officially. And as a part of officially ending, I asked the biography facilitators if they would like to teach a course, at which point Mary said she wanted to interview me. And I was taken back, but I said, I'll jump off another cliff and go for it and do it. And I'm feeling nervous today, and I don't like the attention because I'm used to teaching and taking the attention off of me onto other people's stories. And it's really important to me that we're not sharing this because we're putting me up. We're sharing it as a human experience and someone who's been doing it for a long time and learning a lot about herself through doing it. So please see this as an exploration of this thing we call biography or life story. And we'll see what happens. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Linda. I'd like to start with you saying your full name and saying where you were born and what is your birth date and how did you come to be a teacher for Novalis Institute.
I will, and I realized I forgot to say one other thing before I start, and that is I want us to notice that when we're listening to this recording today, that when my story comes up, your own story comes up, that it's a human, what happened when you were X age? Well, then you think, what happened to me when I was that age? This is a part of the humanness. We're all engaged when we're listening to a story. So this reason for having small groups, for having dyads and triads now in the Anthroposophic Society is because it brings us more to connection while someone's telling their story. So now I'll begin mine.
Okay.
I was born in 1942 in October 11th, and I was born in a little river town in Iowa called Nashua in the Midwest. And from there, the story scopes out to many places. um, and Mary, you wanted me to kind of jump right over to how I started to teach at Novalis. Well, it's still kind of a mystery to me. Um, I had taught, I had trained when I was still in California with a wonderful woman, and then moved to the Midwest and did not do any biography. I was a psychologist and a Waldorf teacher and doing many other things. And after a particular life experience that I had that was very challenging to me, in which I could no longer work in my psychology profession, I was healing and I was on an airplane coming back from California. And I said, I think I'm ready to do something now. And the next morning, I got a call from someone at the Minnesota Waldorf School asking me if I'm interested in teaching biography as a part of the foundation year that they were beginning here in the Twin Cities. And a lot of those beginnings are blurry, except I can still see the first time we all met in September of 1999 and had our first group of, I think there were like 15 people who took that first course. And we had 3 small group leaders. And we all went off into our little small groups, our 3 groups. And the 2 other leaders and I, Jonathan Angus and Jennifer Fox, we all met afterwards. And I said, I have a confession to make. I said, I couldn't just be the timer for this. I had to do my own story too. And Jennifer said, the same thing happened to me. I realized I wanted to be a part of this group and be a part of it and hold the facilitation. And Jonathan said he had the same experience. So we had all somehow independently decided to be in peership. So that's the beginning of that story.
And had you taught biography previously? I mean, they had heard about you?
Yes, actually, I had taught through another institute called the Whitson Institute when it was here in the Twin Cities earlier.
Right.
And Lisa Bartman had actually been in that class that I remember her name, that I had taught biography before, but not to an official kind of group that was looking to be a teacher training. So this was my first experience with that.
Okay. Linda, you have been doing some form of life review for the past 20 years, and you have taught numerous biography classes here and around the world, classes that you actively participated in by looking deeper into your life and sharing your own story, often with perfect strangers. And in addition, you've mentioned that you began studying the biography work when you were 37 years old. This means that you have spent half of your life, actually a little bit more, half of your life studying, thinking about, filling in dates, making charts, checking your feelings. Half of your life with the Steiner biography methods. I think that's an amazing accomplishment. And I'm wondering if you would like to comment about that. Like, what has kept you interested for 42 years?
Yeah, the aliveness of this process is interesting to me. It's because whenever we are with another person and we hear their story, when I'm in a small group in Thailand or Mexico or Wisconsin or Iowa, I'm hearing someone's story, and I'm also in that small group sharing my own. I always made sure I was in a small group because I didn't want to be on the outside of the circle. And I think that is maybe what has kept it so alive, is that every person is so different. And then in India, you know, it's like the developmental understandings go across cultures. They go across, it's like the ages. There are these things that happen during these warrior years and these beginning years, and they're all unique. And so something has just allowed me to connect to so many people.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Thank you. So if you are looking at this very full life that you have had, and you see the beautiful painting you have created of your life story, feeling the life phases in your soul, as Steiner suggests, each phase becomes a new soul organ. Imagine the big picture of Linda Goodsell Bergh. And can you just look back and tell us, what are the 3 greatest events of your life so far? And just what comes to mind. It doesn't have to be in a particular order. And these are almost like moments in time where you met someone or something happened and it shifted you. You might have more than 3, but what's the top 3? What would you say?
Well, there's something that happened when I was 33 that that kind of turned me inside out. I think I was a late bloomer, and I was always kind of behind everybody, and I wasn't very awake, and I was kind of out there chugging along, doing my stuff and reading this and reading that, but it wasn't really digesting very well. And I hadn't met Steiner's work yet. And I met a woman who lived in this suburban house, and I was a Berkeley folk with my kind of Berkeley hairdo and garb, and I was judgmental at first. And she opened her mouth, and I felt like I had met a teacher, and a teacher who was authentic. It was the first person, I think, that I understood what authenticity was. And I just wanted to follow her around. We did dream work together. We did color therapy. We did eternal feminine work. We studied together. All my friends came down and studied with us. It was informal. And in the process of that, there was a forgiveness that came for all the things that had happened in my childhood. And something changed in my relationship with my parents and myself. And I started having dreams of getting married to myself, that I was marrying myself, and all these things happened. And then right after that, I met my first husband, and I met Waldorf, and I met anthroposophy, and all these things opened up. So that was one.
Would you like to say her name?
Her name is Carol Colopy.
Colopy?
Yeah, she was precious to me. And the biggest thing was when she taught me peership. Once I said, I'm just following you around, and she said, no, I'm learning as much from you as you are from me. I said, that's not possible. And she said, no, that's what peership is. We're all doing our best, and we're all striving. So I have taken that principle into everything I do. So thank you, Carol. I think the next is kind of related to Paul. It's the birth of Kirsten. I didn't know that I would ever find a husband and have a family, because it didn't happen for a long time. I think I had a lot of work to do to release beliefs and kind of get to a place where I could be in that kind of zone. So I sang to her when she was born, and so many people say the birth of their child changes their life. And well, here's another one.
And what year was
that? Was July 7th, 1979.
July 7th.
7/7/79.
1979.
Yeah, so I was,
So you would be,
you can figure it out.
yeah, you were 37. Okay.
So the third event is when she died.
Mm, mhm.
And I had to, somehow in that accident, I experienced love around me, even though my husband had died and then she a year later died in this accident. And I'm in the hospital and I'm feeling love around me in a way I can't understand.
Mhm.
And I think it began the journey of knowing that our beloveds are always with us. And it began my, whatever route has taken me into a lot of death and dying work began with my parents had died, Paul had died, and then his parents had both died just before Kirsten died. So it was like my blood family was gone, but I really learned what soul family was.
Mhm. And will you say the date of?
That was in 1996, November 29th.
Mhm.
And in that accident, not only did Nina die, but her best friend, Nina Dietzel, died. So I've been very linked karmically to the Marianne and Dennis Dietzel.
Mhm. Thank you. So I'm wondering if you could take a step way back, and if you can imagine little Linda Goodsell.
Sure, I have a picture of her up on my refrigerator to remind me.
Right.
A picture of my brother when we were, 5 years old.
So, yes, if you can see yourself before you went to kindergarten and you're living at home with your parents and your brother, would you be willing to share one of your earliest memories around the age of 3, maybe, and in as much detail as you can recall?
Well, one of the strange memories that I have, which is not very cosmic, is of me tricycling around my house. Our house had doors that went through from the kitchen to the bathroom to the bedroom to the living room, whatever that was. So I,
on your bike in the house.
on my tricycle, I could somehow that's what I picture. I don't know, maybe I'm making it up, who knows? And at one point I went into the bathroom and my dad had to leave and go to the war. So he was not at home during 2 of the years of my childhood. And so his cousin stayed there and he was taking a bath. So this shocking moment of coming into a room where there's someone, and I think probably that was when I learned reverse on my tricycle, or whatever you do to turn around and go the other way. So I have other just little sporadic memories of chickens scratching in the yard and kind of things that we lived in a rural house in Iowa. But one of the other ones is that, and this is a little older, I had a rheumatic fever and a very, very high fever, and I couldn't breathe. And they put me into one of those, they had this kind of air, kind of veil around my bed so that I could somehow get air. They didn't have oxygen or anything. And I have a memory of the dust motes. I mean, of seeing in the sunlight, when you see the little things in the light,
Oh, dust mites, is that what you said?
I have had a moment of taking students back to this age.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I am in a place where I'm seeing them as almost friends because I could basically not play. I couldn't see anyone. And so this light, these little movements of the dust in coming in light, uh, were friendly and something I could do while I was in that situation.
Mhm. Do you remember how you were feeling about yourself?
No, I have no memory of
Mhm.
feelings. I think I woke up to feelings a lot later than a lot of people.
Mhm.
I think I pushed those way down.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why I have had to do so much biography work. I had a lot of redoing to do.
42 years of feelings. Um, I would like to hear about your 9-year-old memory. So you would be most likely in third grade in grade school. At age 9, it was 1951 when you were 9 years old. And I'm looking to see if you can recall, did you learn something? Like, was something revealed to you? Did you have your first aha moment? Like something from a book or a teacher, a sibling, an elder, something that revealed itself to you?
Well, they may not be in the category you're looking for, but I had a memory that came just now of being in school, and it's the one art piece that I remember was drawing snow on branches.
Mm.
But that's very vague. I have almost no memories. Very few memories of even of this time. But I have another strange memory of being in my bedroom at night, and there's light underneath the door because there's light in the next room, and there's a curtain on the door, and I'm hearing my parents fight,
Mm.
and I'm taking in the pain of their disconnection. And again, I don't know what those feelings were at that time. I'm not sure I could access them. I couldn't talk about them. I couldn't share them with anyone, but I was kind of frozen
Mhm.
in that. And that is this light under the door, but not opening, and them not knowing. They must have known I heard, but they thought I was asleep or something. So,
But
and
could
the
we say that what was revealed was that you had maybe some critical thinking here for the first time, that, oh, there's disconnect or dissonance or this.
and I'm not even sure, it may have just been a memory that I then had to work with later. I don't think I had any faculty to
Mhm.
do anything with it at that time. It was just something stored in that body
Right.
that I have done a lot of work on,
Mhm.
to understand all the components of humanness.
Mhm.
There's one other one that's more conscious, and it was maybe at 9.5. Well, first, and then, after this, during this time, I completely lost my vision within 6 months. I couldn't see at school. They finally realized I wasn't seeing the blackboard and took me in, and my eyesight had gone to 2500, which is legally blind.
Hmm.
And I sometimes have wondered if I just didn't want to see the world that I was living in. But those are all adult thoughts about something that happened. But when I could put my glasses on and see the leaves on the trees again, it was quite an amazing moment of,
Mhm.
with these glasses, I can see, but I didn't understand all the other levels. There's one more thing,
Mhm.
and that is that I was in brownies with someone, and there was something that had to happen to go into Girl Scouts. And I don't know, it's a very vague memory, but my best friend didn't want me in the group that was going to fly up to Girl Scouts and told me so that she didn't want me in that group.
Hmm.
And I felt just betrayed by that friend. And so it probably opened up the door of compassion for myself and others and be more discerning about who friends are because I had trusted her. So again, it wasn't conscious. It just probably hit me and froze me for a while
Mhm.
and affected my friendships from then on
Mhm.
in ways I've been looking at for a long time.
Mhm. Can you, so if you're looking at your 9.5-year self in the phase charts, in this Mercury middle phase of
Right.
the heart,
Heart.
can you see that how some of these um, moments um, led to things later in your life, like 28 to 35 and
Well, I think maybe it's what brought me into the heart work.
Mhm.
I had to heal. I wanted to help other people heal. First, I thought I had to heal children, and then I
Mhm.
realized, but I think it was about healing the heart. And that part of healing my heart was awareness that I want to be there for other people to heal their hearts.
Mhm.
So but not having the tools until that fifth phase, I really stayed in more of an intellectual place. I didn't really open up my heart to my feelings until that fifth phase when I met this woman and she helped me understand that I was whole.
Mhm.
Maybe the biggest work that she did was to say we are each whole.
Mhm. Thank you. So I just want to continue on with another um, event that you might be able to recall around the age of 14 to 18. So you would be finishing grade school and you're going to go on to your high school experience. Could you say that you experienced an event where you became conscious of creating your own life value? Something happened where you thought, I am moving away from the values I was born into. I'm moving away from this, and I'm going to create a new life value.
Well, again, I think I'm a little late on the upbeat of recognizing that, saying that conscious. I know a lot of people did during that time. I was living in the 50s. It was a very constricted time. I have an experience which led later to that awareness.
Mhm.
And I can share that. Um, I, I was very engaged in volunteer work. It was a way I could be out in the world. And I'm an extrovert and a teacher, so I was looking for ways. And so I got chosen to go to a national YWCA conference when I was 16. And it was my first time away from my town, except to go and visit relatives. And we went to Washington, D.C. And I'm on a train heading from Chicago to Washington. And next to me is a Black girl. And we began to talk. And that night she placed her head on my shoulder to go to sleep.
Aw.
And it was one of those moments you don't forget. A new friend, and we hung out together during the whole conference. So when I came home, I told my mom that I wanted her to visit. And our home was an open home. My mom was always inviting people in from other cultures, Germany, Japan, and she said no.
Mhm.
And I had no power. but inside something broke. That something broke that later in my life I could take care of when I finally ended up in Berkeley after school was over. But I was powerless. I don't remember. I think I stopped. I don't remember the girl's name. I was frozen again by not having the power to stand up for myself. And so I think it became a learning that I could take care of later.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a wake-up call that each
A beautiful
person,
example.
each person is special.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel sad that I somehow lost track of that, of that person, or, sometimes what is it when we're frozen and can't act, and also having empathy for my 16-year-old who didn't know what to do,
Mhm.
didn't know who to go to. And my mom, I'm studying racism, and, my mom was caught in a culture that she didn't know either what she was doing.
Right.
She could be open but not there because her culture was, our house was redlined, everything was set up
Mhm.
against people having connections. So it wasn't really her fault, but it felt for a long time like it was her fault. I think I blamed her when I now know it was the culture.
Mhm.
So I've done some recent forgiveness work around that.
So around 18 then, did you go to college, and did you want to go to college? Was that expected of you, or was it something that you were saying, I got to go to college? And did you know what you wanted to study? And did that become your major?
Um, First of all, because something happened, I started school later than a lot of kids because I changed states and the rules were different. So I ended up not graduating from high school till a little bit later. So I started junior college when I was almost 19. So I graduated when I was 18 from high school. And there was a junior college in my town, and I never had any question. I was just, I could work. I worked probably 30 hours a week at the Y while I went to junior college. And so I could save some money to go to the university in my junior year. And so it was at the age of exactly 21 that I entered UW-Madison in my junior year of college. And my parents had put no pressure on me. There was no family pressure about what I should do or be, but the era had a lot of pressure. I was in the 50s. Women weren't exactly astronauts at the moment. I think now if I could have done something, I would have become a scuba diver who worked with dolphins, but that was not exactly like in my
Available.
range of thinking, and so I worked with a lot of kids who had emotional issues and I was good at it. So people started to tell me, that I could do psychology or social work or, and so instead of teaching, I at that point went toward a psychology degree. And I also had a history teacher in high school who was phenomenal. He taught in such a creative way and a demanding way that I just fell in love with history. So he told me about Wisconsin having the best history professors in the Midwest. And so I actually went to UW to be a history major for the understanding of culture and people and civilizations, and then added on a double major of psychology so I could understand children.
So you were preparing for biography work then.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. would you like to share just a little bit about your threshold work in the Twin Cities?
Um, I could.
Just very
I'm just aware of our time. I'm wondering if that, I mean, I have worked with biography, and the other thing I worked with after Paul and Kirsten and then Jack died was people began to ask us to help them with their dying.
Mhm.
And so I all of the volunteer, but then we started to teach classes on how to help people have home vigils and be able to care for their own at home, because that's what I was able to do with both my husbands. And my daughter also had a home vigil. I think I wanted to bring that to the people here in the Twin Cities because they had so lovingly taken care of her while I was in ICU in the hospital.
Mhm.
So the whole home vigil movement, and so we started a group called the Minnesota Threshold Network, and I'm also going to be opting out of work with that this year. So I'm, quote, what people say is I'm retiring, but I'm kind of shifting gears to something from my work with Minnesota Threshold. We've been going since 2008
Mhm.
and have served a lot of families and had monthly meetings for all those years to educate people. And then I've done death and dying work around the country
Mhm.
as well, to try and bring, and biography work is always a part of it.
Yeah.
What was your experience with death and what would you like to have done? You know, it's bringing your own consciousness to this threshold, which no longer is there fear attached.
Mhm.
And I've walked alongside a lot of families who have had ones who've walked alongside a lot of people who have crossed over.
Yeah, thank you.
I've been very privileged.
Mhm. So you will be wearing your 80-year-old crown this October 11th, 2022. And want to welcome you. In the words of our friend Eric Utney, to los años de los jubilados, years of jubilation. Welcome to your years of jubilation. So cheers to you. Would you please?
Not quite believable that I'm still here. Like Ram Dass says, I'm still here.
Right. Be here now, you're still here. Please, Linda, would you read to us your legacy that you give to the Steiner biography method?
You know, this is just a rough draft, and a colleague asked me. She said, "What do you think is your legacy? What do you wish to share?" And it got me thinking. And who do you wish to honor? So this is just a beginning.
Mhm.
It's not about me. It's about the aliveness that we discovered in the process of being together. It's about the power of the charts that somehow came to me to make, that they help people understand these 7-year phases. It's about the capacity of the imagination of each human being to open up memories through prompts. It's about willingness to be alive and in peership, the vulnerability of all people to be holding and participating, including me. I would like to honor Carol, who taught me peership, Elena, who brought me the biography work after her year at Emerson about the phases and the process. I want to honor all the local people who started Novalis, Jonathan and Marty, and all those who've been on the board and the ones who are still on the board, Donna, Marty, Karen, and Carolyn. I want to honor all of those who taught in Novalis, locally, nationally. I want to honor all the biography facilitators that I have known and those I haven't, and the ones who asked me to share with others on the East Coast, like Kathleen, and join in the work. And perhaps most of all, I want to honor all those, maybe some of you on a call, who trusted me through these years. All the students and the communities who opened their lives and hearts to their own connection and understanding. And my willingness to do this interview is because it is a part of my legacy, and I'm trying to be a conscious elder. And it feels a little strange, but I am grateful to share with those who have participated, and perhaps with future biography facilitators who take on this beautiful work of being human. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Should we close with the verse again?
The wishes of the soul are springing. The deeds of the will are thriving. The fruits of life are maturing. I feel my destiny. My destiny finds me. I feel my star. My star finds me. I feel my goals in life. My goals in life are finding me. My soul and the great world are one. Life grows more radiant about me. Life grows more arduous for me. Life grows more abundant within me. Should we blow out our candle?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary, for your thoughtful questions.
Thank you.
Unmute me now, 'cause I'm going to say something. Okay, welcome back. Can you hear me, everyone? Linda?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a 5-minute break. I just want to say that initial interview was me beginning to collect information about Linda's life. And there were other interviews and many questions. And I think that happened in February. And then I began the process of making Linda's charts. And we will show you the charts in this next section. And so that was a big process. And we are going to tell Linda's story together through the life phases. So everyone enjoy a 5-minute break and we'll come back. Hope back. Thank you. Can you take me off the screen so I can get up?
So you don't always know what's going to happen. And I don't think Mary and I could have predicted what happened just last weekend when we had to figure out how to put this together. But we're now going to collaborate to tell a story. And we really hope you can stay. It's a little longer than, I'm so time conscious and it's longer than we thought, but I am going to be 80, so bear with us. And then we're going to have time for you to share and just say one or two things. So anyway, I hope you can stay. And if you can't, you can see the recording later and maybe send us a note. And this all will be recorded. I mean, this will be publicly available for people. But Mary, you were going to say something. I'm just kind of so aware of people's precious time. So go ahead. You're muted, Mary.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I hope everybody can stay. And at the very end, we would really like to open up for everyone to just offer their own thank you to Linda for what gift she's given to you through her teaching. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start.
Oh, and it's like 50 minutes. And then we're going to have open time until people all share. Well, we're back. And we have been working hard since that interview. And Mary has created this a wonderful magnus opus. And we're going to share how we're going to do this in a minute. But I wanted to say just a few things before we start and share the charts that I created during my teaching years. I wanted first to acknowledge the invisible partnership with our ancestors who quietly guide us. And for both Mary and I, particularly my daughter, Kirsten, and her dear friend, Nina, Marianne and Dennis's daughter, who crossed the threshold during our lifetime. Even this interview seems guided by these girls. Next, I wanted to say that this biography phase of my life has been one of the greatest gifts. I found a new soul path of understanding when I was 37, and then after the passing of my beloved Paul and Kirsten, the opportunity to connect with other people in meaningful ways has been a new pathway. And I want to thank Rudolf Steiner for the gift of bringing into the world the spiritual journey of the human being. I also want to share gratitude for all the collaboration with Jennifer Fox over all these years, for all those biography people I have worked with and who are in the world, and for all the centers around the world who are keeping this legacy alive. And now I want to share a little bit about the charting that we're going to be doing. And I'm going to start sharing the screen and share first. There we go. This is the kind of chart that people do when they work in a life phase course with me over these years, or with any one of us who does this work. And there's a reason it's not a horizontal line, because I learned that before I learned all this. And that is that there are an incarnating 21 years, and we can see that here, 0 to 21. And then there's a soul turning into looking back and seeing what is it I'm transforming in these next 42 years, called the soul warrior years. And then the next 21 years is this spirit cycle, where again, we're reflecting back, we're mirroring back. And Mary's going to be doing this all through looking at my chart this way. And then the last cycle out are called the grace years. And so when I was teaching, I felt that this needed something visual. And so here I am. I created these charts that I could use in teaching. And here they are. So the first 21 years, again, we have the first cycle where it's the work of trust and reverence. The second cycle of 7 years, where it's the heart cycle with feeling, and it's the work of acceptance and does the world accept me? And the third early phase, can I become an independent person? This 14 to 21. And then when we turn that corner at 21 and we start to go back, can I be independent as an adult? And 28 to 35, can I accept myself? And that's the second heart phase. And then the sixth phase is mirroring back and saying, am I trustworthy? What do I need to do to trust myself? And the phases go on, but these are the charts that I created. And it's kind of a part of my legacy that I wanted to share. And so now I have something very messy to share with you that poor Mary had to work with. Besides our interview, I've been working on my charts for years and have added things and added colors and all sorts of things. And then our dear Mary asking to interview me and taking these chaotic charts that were made in classes. All of these were made during classes I was teaching. So here we turn it over to Mary, and then we look at how we're going to work tonight to highlight in a way that would be meaningful. So there you go, Mary.
Thank you, Linda. So you can see in the large chart, I have distilled Linda's life events through the phases, but on a more graphic looking chart, biography. Initially, it was my intention to tell you Linda's entire story while looking at this chart. But after a few practices, Linda and I decided it was too long, it became too linear, and it was two-dimensional on Zoom. So together we decided to collaborate, and Linda is going to tell her story. And I'm going to focus on sharing the primary mirroring of her chart. And I'm focused on the middle heart phases. So again, the phases are 7-year cycles. So you see the cursor 7 to 14, the Mercury cycle, then it mirrors 28 to 35, the Sun cycle, and then 49 to 56, the Jupiter cycle, and then 70 to 77, Neptune. So I just want to mention that not all life stories, not all of the charting of someone's life story, it's not necessarily the middle mirror where the main karmic events happen. It could be on the bottom, it could be on the top. For example, in my chart, my big karma events are all on the top. So I'm not here to analyze Linda's life, and it might bring me to tears and I might need a moment to collect myself. To be invited into someone's entire life story is a gift. It's a blessing. And I am grateful to Linda's generosity in sharing her story. So now I'm going to pass it to Linda, and she's going to share 0 to 7.
So I just want to say thank you to Mary, and that this is a very vulnerable thing for me to do. And I'm grateful for Mary's holding of this, in making that request and in having us figure it out together. So we're going to start with, we're going to use charts that I made while I was teaching of these phases. These are my personal art made during a class that I was teaching, and we're going to use those to illustrate each of these 12 cycles as we go through. And I'm going to tell a very short, like 1 minute for each of the phases. And then Mary will be filling in so that you kind of know at least the thread of the story as well as the heart phases. So here we go. Oh, there's the mirroring we were showing. Got it. So there you have that. Okay. On the outskirts of a small Midwestern town, a daughter was born to Bob and Hilda Goodsell. He was a newspaper man. She was a homemaker. Their daughter's name was Linda Lee Bergh. She had one brother, 2 years older. It was wartime. Pearl Harbor was 10 months before. And during several of these early years, her father was gone. You can see in this picture that outside is very bright and sunny, and there was a sense of harmony and beauty in those pictures. And she found that there was a tree that she loved and things that she could do. And inside, the world was darker. It was wartime, it was hard, it was depressing, and she felt that in her bones and in her early memories that were very vague. When the war ended, her father came home, and then he got scared and he decided to sell his paper and get a more stable job. So when she was 5.5, they moved right before her 6th birthday, actually, they moved to Elgin, Illinois. And now she had city blocks instead of a marsh and wide open country. And she had neighborhood friends for the first time. She started kindergarten at 6. And now Mary's going to tell us in the fall when she turned 7, she was starting 1st grade and she was beginning phase 2 of her life, 7 to 14, the first heart phase.
Tell us, Linda, your birthday and year.
Oh, it's October 11th, 1942.
Thank you. So 7 to 14 were under the influence of Mercury and the Mercury tension. So the family is now living in Elgin, Illinois, in a small house in the city, and Linda is removed from the big nature of her early family country home. She discovers there's discord between her parents, and she can hear them fighting at night and arguing when she's in her room. But she keeps this in her heart as a secret. She does find love and comfort and belonging from a neighboring family, the Browns. And this is her first experience of a soul family, a community belonging, although she is unconscious of this at that time. When she's 9 years old, Linda recalls that she's given an art assignment. She decides to paint snow on branches. But later she's told by her teacher, yeah, you should not do art. Stick to what you're good at, like writing and singing. Again, she takes this in unconsciously, but she does. She focuses on writing and singing. But at 9.5, Linda suddenly loses her eyesight and she becomes legally blind. Around 11 to 12, Linda experiences her first big heartbreak in the form of a betrayal from her best girlfriend. They have been in brownies together, and now her friend insists that Linda cannot join the same Girl Scout troop. Linda decides instead to join the YWCA, and this is a big destiny moment. Linda becomes connected to the YWCA for much of the rest of her life. And by the time she is 14, she experiences the double standard. She's told by church and family to care for others be kind to others. But now her mother is telling her, stay away from that mentally ill neighbor girl. You cannot be friends with her. Linda finds herself questioning the family values that she's born into, and she is beginning to seek her own inner truth and her own identity. Linda, next cycle.
So the next cycle is phase 3, the kind of teenage years, 14 to 21. She started gawky and tall and awkward and braces and skin eczema, not the popular kid, and a few friends. There were constrictions through her teenage years. At home, she couldn't invite a Black girl into her home, even though it opened to many others. She had strict curfews. She wasn't allowed to drive. And she still did not even know that she could speak about what was happening in the conflicts daily between her parents in their home. But the why in church continued to be very important during this period, where she found freedom and support and independent thinking. She was working with children and volunteering, dedicated to, quote, saving children in that idealistic way. And she made enough that she put herself through junior college, and at her moon node, she meets her first love of her life, who really saw who she was. But to tell you, she wasn't ready when it could have been a marriage. So now I want to show you, we've now completed this first 21 years, brief as it is. And this is a turning point. We see it all over the world. Are you an adult? You're starting to live in the adult world. And so we turn now to this next phase, which is a part of the soul phases, the feeling soul time. And it's reflecting back to see, are you really independent? Can you really make your own way? And we'll turn to Linda's next phase. In the fall, right before she turned 21 in October, she left home for the very first time to attend UW-Madison. And you can see this period. Look at the chaos and radical changes in this drawing. First, UW was politically so different from her Eisenhower upbringing, hometown. And Kennedy was shot 2 months after she arrived. Selma, Alabama, Vietnam War, a friend dying from depression. It was a new era, but she stayed the course with standards from her family and an MA and a BA and money enough to head to Europe. She went and experienced some freedom she'd never had, to see culture and art in the form where they came from. And when she returned, she went to Berkeley, California. She didn't know all the flower children were arriving. She was transformed by new ideas, the anguishing Vietnam War, the civil rights movement, but still she's holding a full-time job at the YWCA on the campus of Berkeley, and she's working with community service projects. But the psychic stress somehow got to her, and she ends up with very severe mono and an inner voice that says, you can't change the world until you change yourself. Doesn't really get what that means, but she leaves her job and signs up to be at UC Berkeley for a master's in ed, because she decides she's going to go work with kids again. And that's where we leave it, to go back to Mary taking us at her Saturn return, her 28 years, And we'll let Mary take it now to phase 5, the second heart phase, a mirror of phase 2, as she will show you. Let's see what unfolds for this person who at this point is still very much asleep.
So 28 to 35, we're in the middle sun phase, finding, seeking our inner authority. At 29, it's 1970. Linda finishes her second master's degree in education from Berkeley, California. She falls in love and she's thinking, oh, this is the one, only to discover he is also having a full-on relationship with her girlfriend. Again, she experiences betrayal and a broken heart, this time not only from a girlfriend, but including a boyfriend. She decides at 31 to take a trip to Guatemala to study children's weaving. And while she's there, she has a scuba diving accident and she has a near-death experience. When she returns home, she decides to quit her job and she's going to study body work, Gestalt therapy. She buys a house to live in community. She wants to heal her past and get grounded. And at 33, she has a big mission shift. 33, we refer to as the Christ years. Something dies and something will be reborn. She meets her first spiritual mentor, a woman named Carol. She begins meditation and she finds now her inner eye. Carol helps Linda with inner development. She experiences authentic mentoring and peership teaching. At the same time, she meets Elena Lovejoy, who is her advisor at Berkeley. They become colleagues. Elena gets Linda a job teaching at St. Mary's College. Then Elena decides to take a year to study at Emerson College. And when she returns, she begins teaching Steiner biography work, and Linda becomes her assistant. At this time in this cycle, 28 to 35, Linda also meets anthroposophy at this time. She takes the Waldorf kindergarten teacher training in Sacramento at Rudolf Steiner College. And at 34, Linda meets the love of her life, Paul Bergh. She finds unconditional love. Linda experiences wholeness and love, not only for herself, her personal life, but she finds holistic, soulful education through Waldorf. At 36, Linda and Paul marry. And at 37, July 7th, 1979, Kirsten Savitri Bergh, their daughter, is born. So when we look at this 7-year cycle, 28 to 35, compared to 7 to 14, in this 7 years, there are so many destiny moments occur. She gets her second master's in education. Her first master's is in psychology. She has a near-death experience. She meets her spiritual mentor, Carol, who prepares her for things to come. She meets her professional mentor, Elena Lovejoy. She meets anthroposophy and biography work and Waldorf education. She meets the love of her life. She gets married and she gives birth to Kirsten. She almost dies. She shifts her intention and her goals, and something is reborn. And all these things come to her in this cycle. Many big things come to her at this time. Linda?
So now she has a family life that she didn't know she would ever have. It's a working relationship, and they live in a little house now up in the, she lets go of her communal house, and they live in a little tree house up in the hills, and she has play groups for the children. And she's also, before Kirsten was born, she was full-time teaching at St. Mary's College, but she decides that her daughter is her PhD, and she pulls back to part-time and takes time to be with her family. And so at the second mood node comes during this time, and there is something that happens that's very challenging that she didn't really realize would happen. All of the conflict that she felt as a child within her family dimension is coming up and out with her partner. So she has a lot of healing work to face. It's a very challenging time, but she has had some tools given to her, thank goodness. And her husband is also quite patient. And so they really are working together to make a new life. And she also continues to train in this biography work that was brought to her about this new spiritual way of seeing human development. It's just stunning to her with her developmental background. But at 38, her husband decides he has to move back to Minnesota. He can't stay in the Bay Area. So at 40, they move to Minnesota. And before she turns 42, Paul has had open heart surgery, his own near-death experience. And they're living in a rural Minnesota town, hoping they can get to a Waldorf school. But they're striving with their little play schools and their psych practices to create an open, honest family life for their daughter. So then I want us to look. Now this is, now we have completed then at 42, that first loop. And it's like going back to a new birth. And it's also like an opening to new beginnings for the soul. And so this period of 42 to 49, what happens to this family who has just arrived in Minnesota and is new? Linda did not know one person in Minnesota, had never even been there. So these are the Waldorf years. These are the Mars years, the busy years. It's Kirsten's elementary school years because they do get a job. He gets a job in Minneapolis and there's a Waldorf school. He's also had some severe health crises after his open heart surgery, and they decide together not to have another child. So she becomes a kindergarten teacher at the local Waldorf school, and her daughter starts first grade, and they all love it. However, the school goes through a lot of crises during this 7-year period. Oh, I haven't switched it. This is a very busy period, very intense period. So these years being friendship, and also she gets a new career because she goes and starts to do the work she also had wanted to do, which was therapy with with children with severe issues. And so there's happiness, intensity, working hard, late nights. And then at 48, the Bergh family buy a home with another family, the O'Briens, so that their daughter and Kirsten and Molly can be sisters. In this period, there is an exploration of community and spirituality and fulfillment of family and self. And it's also the time of the death of both of her parents. Life is full and challenging and appears stable. Okay, Mary.
Mhm. So we move on to the next, the 8th cycle, 49 to 56. Here we have the influence of Jupiter, the wisdom cycle. Here we are collecting higher wisdom for our next lifetime. At 49, it's 1991, and the Berghs are living in Minneapolis on Xerxes Avenue with the O'Brien family. Kirsten becomes best pals with Molly O'Brien and their schoolmate, Nina Dietzel, and they are all like sisters. I am inviting Kirsten and Nina to be with us now in this session. At 50 years old, the Berghs decide to move to France to live and work and study French. Paul has a degree in French, and Linda, she wants to experience what her love loves. And so she says, let's go to France. But by the end of the year, Linda feels exhausted with French. She's tired of struggling with the language, and they move home. And both Paul and Linda begin working as psychologists in Minneapolis. Things are going along, and Kirsten and Molly and Nina are in high school, are finishing 7th grade, 8th grade, and at 53 years old, Paul Bergh suddenly dies of a heart attack. Just 3 years after returning from France. In September of 1996, Kirsten and Nina enroll in the Steiner High School in Harlemville, New York. It's Thanksgiving, and Linda decides she's going to visit the girls. They are out driving, and their car hits a patch of black ice. They hit a 16-wheeler truck while spinning out of control. Linda is pulled from the car only to realize that both girls have been killed. She is the only survivor. Linda wakes up in the hospital, having undergone an extensive 14-hour surgery to rebuild her damaged face. To find out the girls are gone, and she will need more surgery to save her eye. She's transferred to Minnesota to have eye surgery. She loses her eye and is fitted with an artificial eye. She begins an intensive year of holistic recovery, body work, artistic work, gardening, brain injury recovery, healing her heart and her soul, because now she has the biggest broken heart ever. In this cycle, Linda loses her husband, her only daughter, and the daughter of our community friends. She loses her eye. And remember, on the chart in 7 to 14, she loses her vision. She becomes legally blind. She realizes, though, that she is not alone. She feels the presence of angelic beings with her. She feels great support from her community and all the energies around her. She has been prepared for this time through Carol and Elena in her inner development. When I look at this event, where in 28 to 35, everything comes to her. And in this phase, everything is taken away. And this, I am no expert on Rudolf Steiner, but I see that this is really a life of spiritual initiation. Steiner says spiritual initiation is 3 stages: preparation, enlightenment, initiation. And they don't always happen in that order. Linda does not go to the shadow side. She doesn't become depressed. She does not retreat to the basement or the attic to write something that never gets published. She takes an extensive recovery time, body work, emotional work, artistic soul work, being in nature, gardening. She's praying and meditating. She begins her investigation into the threshold work, exploring the living dead. At 56, she goes to California again, and she participates in the Mother of Angels conference. She publishes Kirsten's book of poetry and drawings, and she brings this book along to share.
It's a lot to take in about a life.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary. I want to say something personal here that is hard even now to explain. But Mary kind of said it, that there was always love around me, even when it wasn't visible. And that somehow that love was greater than the loss of the most beloved people. And these words came to me, and they weren't my own words. It was like being in a place for a moment when something is given to you. And maybe I prepared for it, but at that moment, it felt like it was given to me, holding me in a near life experience. And that feeling then of being able to be her mother with the book, the poetry book that I published, I think let me be a mother, and a legacy of hers was able to be done. And I just found things that I sent out to every English-speaking Waldorf school in the world. Sent out. I was determined to get her being out there. So this mothering kind of had to take another aspect. And I think, so maybe I had a reason to live just by her having that poetry that she had written. And I'm so grateful that she had written these poems for her friends and then for people who never knew her. But now my family not only includes friends and soul family, it includes spirit family. And the work of the rest of my life has been to stay connected to all of those. So thanks. I just had to say that about that phase. It's a big one.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
we're going to make a little switch here because something destiny-wise amazing happened to Linda Bergh. Now I'm back telling about Linda Bergh. This turning point of 56 to 63. This is the Saturn years. It's phase 10. This became a universe. It was a whole nother planetary system. In 7 years, Linda met Jack, fell in love, got married, and was present for his conscious dying. Jack was a gift for her soul. She experienced joy and rich relationship. And then after the cancer diagnosis, she traveled with Jack toward his dying He wasn't just taken away. And he met it with such curiosity and openness, his life became a teaching. Well, thank you, Jack. And during this same 7-year period, she was asked to teach biography and social art for the Novalis Institute, a new foundation studies program in Minneapolis. And then teaching expanded to Parzival and meditation and the eternal feminine. And it was the fullest years of joy of teaching and a great privilege for her to be a part of this striving. Again, now it was a community of learners. So now we're at 63 and we've ended this spirit phase, and it's open, apparently open to the grace years, they call this. And these are years that there's only a few biography facilitators who have really explored this, but now that we have many people who are in this age, I think there's more and more exploration of it. So I'm exploring how these charts seem to work. And for my life and for Jack's and for a few others I've done, it felt like we were both returning to some adolescent things. So it's returning and echoing. If you look, it takes us right back to 14 to 21. And here I was, single and dating, and not very successfully, and feeling kind of like, where's my future now? I had plans with that guy and he's gone. And then this destiny thread entered from the world. Kirsten's book showed up in India at a Waldorf library, at a Waldorf school. The teacher who found that book came to Minneapolis to visit, met Linda, and invited her to India to teach poetry and biography and social art to 33 teachers and staff every day after school. That led to then volunteering in Thailand, and she's then meeting someone named Nam and traveling by taxi 7 hours outside of the main town, I just forgot, at an orphanage with Karen children displaced from Burma. And that journey continues to right now today. So this world opened up. It's this new being. There are places she can serve, that she can be. And here she is, Linda, a mother who lost her child, connecting to children who lost their parents. And the other thread that happens during this 7-year period is that it's time for Linda to pay forward the death and dying work from her own experiences. And she is asked, and she goes toward this with Marianne Dietzel, Nina's mother. They start a threshold network, which helps people in the community. They teach classes. It's work that's still serving the community, and it began during this phase. So 2 whole new things begin during this phase. And now Mary's going to take us into the 70 to 77 phase, the 4th heart phase. And let's see what happens then.
70 to 77, under the influence of Neptune, fulfillment and compassion for the world around us. At 70, it's 2012. Linda offers the Biography Facilitator training in Minneapolis, and 14 people attend. I am one of those people. She is asked to teach biography in Mexico at the Waldorf School, and 100 people attend. And for the next 7 years, Linda goes to Mexico to teach. At 74 and Linda's 4th moon node, she herself attends a biography conference that she participates in. She has a waking vision of her parents. Her parents are walking together. They're holding hands. They're walking towards her. Here she is able to heal her young 7-year-old heart and begin healing her relationship with her parents, practicing and building forgiveness. From 75 to 77, Linda is traveling Italy, France. She goes to Prague and Germany, Ireland, Australia, Mexico, Thailand. She is a world citizen, teaching her passions, biography and threshold work. At 77, she announces her retirement to Novalis. In this cycle, Linda is teaching biography around the world. She goes on the Black Madonna tour in France and in Mexico. Through her travels in Europe, she explores the feminine principle in art and the Sophia. She is learning to see now with her third eye. And Linda becomes mother to all. She becomes mother to many. Although she says she is retiring, I know she will continue to mentor us, and she will not sit still. Linda, passing to you.
Well, I'm wondering if you want to say,
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you say anything and then I'll give my final thoughts, which are always the hardest about the phase you're in. Any last thoughts that either of us have about this
Well, there's just,
journey?
yeah, I mean, here you have a continual cycle of love experience and a broken heart, and often through betrayal. And maybe you want to speak about that lesson of healing the broken heart and the healing, the karmic healing of leaving the betrayal. And this 28 to 35, you know, the womb, the ovaries, longing for birth, reproduction, and Kirsten being born and Kirsten being lost, and becoming a mother to so many people through your passion, your work. Such a beautiful mirror. I want to acknowledge that Linda has been speaking in the plural pronoun about herself. And this is a biography lesson when we can become the objective observer of ourself, then we can repair, we can heal, we can go back 1 step backwards and 2 steps forward. Do you
Well, I
want
want to say 2 things. One is I have had an awareness through biography work that what appeared to be betrayals were actually my lack of discernment. And that I had to learn something from that experience in order that I am always whole and it's not about me. And so I think that somehow what happened in that 28 to 35 was a beginning of that learning of wholeness that you can see in that picture, so that when I lost Kirsten and Paul, there was never a feeling of betrayal. I don't know, you know, I can only say that the wholeness held me because I had been gifted that work during that time. And then all the biography work really started after that accident. So these last years, all these charts were made since I was, you know, 56, 57 years old. So they've been made in the last, 20 years. And so I figured out I must have come in to do a lot of healing work, because every time I give the biography class, I learn something. So I've had a lot of learning moments, and I just took another class with someone else and I got to learn yet something else about my own journey. So this doesn't end. Someone thought you get to a certain point and you got it. It's like, well, I'm here to say, I don't think that's true. So I think that I have learned that we always are whole and that we're always in connection, and it's up to us to open those doors, whether it's with this world, this friend, this person who we're having conflict with, or the other side. And doesn't mean it's always easy. Doesn't mean it's easy. But somehow some grace was given to me to feel something that held me during some of the hardest times. So should I go on?
Yes, let's go on.
One?
Thank you. Mhm.
So anyway, this picture was painted just a couple of weeks ago in a biography class that I was participating in. And I know that if it's the 12th phase, it should look like a sunset.
Hmm.
But it's not a sunset. It's a sunrise. I just figured that out today. I am starting something new, but I have no idea what the landscape is. I'm an extrovert, but I'm learning to say no to things that otherwise I would have said yes to. So I'm not sure what I'm going to say yes to. But I was supposed to do this in third person, but I just failed. I had it written in third person. Okay, but I'm going to say it in first person because I'm right in it. So Linda is eldering. I am learning to elder, and it's clumsy, and I don't know how this is going to come across. And I'm jumping off new cliffs because I want to honor elders. I want us to honor other elders. I want us to honor every life. And I want us to be aging in a creative and artistic way. And I just look forward to things that I have no idea what they are. So thank you for traveling with me through this and taking a chance. And I'm looking forward for us now to be able to hear hellos from the people in the crowd. And thanks for listening to these 2 recordings. So we'll see where Linda goes next. And thank you to Mary.
Thank you, Linda.
For your wise and thoughtful chance to see we can take a life and look at it and learn more about our own. And I hope something here has touched your own life, everyone, that something about your own life has opened for you as a result of watching this. So thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Well, first, you're still here. Thank you. I guess I'm still here and you're still here, and now Mary's going to give us a prompt for a way that we can have a time to hear from you and what we're going to focus on tonight. So some people may have to go before we end. I just want to say this will be a public video and we will make sure that you have access to it. And if there are people who couldn't be here, there's ways that they could also share their wishes of gratitude to Novalis or biography work. And we'll let people know about that too. But Mary, why don't you let us know what we can do now in our Zoom time.
Yeah, and thank you for such a remarkable story and sharing, Linda. So we're just going to invite anyone who wants to raise their hand and just give a thank you to Linda. Like, what gift did she give you as a teacher through Novalis or through biography work? And if you have further comments or questions, you can reach us through our emails. But because of time, just ask anybody who would like to raise a hand and keep it short, like a minute.
But actually, I want one person to go first,
Yes, okay.
and her name is Elena Rose Lovejoy. Now we're going to hold you to short comment, but
Oh, she's probably on mute.
we're going to have you unmute. This was my teacher, and this is my dear, dear friend who's on the call with us tonight. So I'm so honored that you're here, and we want yours to be the first voice to say, well, how was it to see your student Linda now at 79?
Well, as I told you later yesterday, because we haven't talked in a very long time because I almost died last year. It's another story. But I'm here. And when I first met Linda, I had been put in charge of a course called The Misfits. And I was honored to be the teacher because I felt like the misfit of all at Cal, UC Berkeley. So that's where destiny brought us together. And it has been eternal, before, during, and after. Now we know that. But my 1 minute is really going to be a minute and 2 minutes. And that is, I'm 85 and a half now. And there's a part of me that is bearing a tremendous amount of anger at the world and at the politics and, you know, all of that. But I'm learning yet again to find peace and resurrection in it. Now, Linda, today, when you put the U charts out, and when I learned it in England on my first sabbatical, we stopped at 64 because Rudolf Steiner said, after 63, you're free. And I knew that wasn't right. But how do you say, I don't think that's right, to Rudolf Steiner? And well, he died when he was 64. So for him, it was over. But never the legacy that he has left us, it'll never be over. So eventually we came up with the third half you, and thought it's really the grace period. But seeing it all now and knowing your life, my dearest soulmate, there's a fourth half you. What are we going to call it?
Right. Okay, let's go for that. See, she's still working. Okay. Thank you, Elena Rose. So now Suzanne has her hand up, and if anyone wants to share, there's that little click under reactions. You can put your hand up, or you can unmute yourself after Suzanne speaks. And you can also unmute yourselves, right, Dennis? People can unmute themselves. Okay. So Suzanne, let's hear from you, and then we'll hear from whoever would like to share. And we'll stay here as long as people at 9 o'clock, I think it's in 4 minutes, you know, our time officially is up, but we're going to stay until everyone who wishes to share has shared. So just for you to know that. So Suzanne and then Jennifer.
I just want to thank you, Mary, for doing this, and Linda for being so gracious as to share your legacy with us. I feel like you've been such a blessing to me, and you have been a mother to so many of us. And your gifts of creativity, of hospitality, your open-heartedness, helping us in the moments where we couldn't quite see what the next step was, and just trusting, embodying that trust that there is another side that you're stepping toward. And I admire you for saying no at this point. I feel like we all have to do sacrifices before we move into that new transition that's calling us. So many blessings on the next stage. And thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Jennifer? Dear Jennifer.
Dear Linda, oh my gosh. And I would like to say, dear Elena Rose, for coming into Linda's life and which led her to me. Thank you so much, Linda and Mary. This was, I think Sandra wrote in the chat that this was a masterful deed that you did, Mary and Linda. It was really beautiful. Linda is one of the most Michaelic spirits I know. She called me, and it was such a blessing and a gift in my life. And she was recovering from the accident. And she'd been asked to teach biography to this new foundation studies program that went on to become Novalis Institute. And she said, "You've heard about the new teaching. They want me to do biography." And I said, yes. And she said, "I don't think I can do it alone. Will you help me?" And I was getting ready to move. My husband was ill. He was retiring. And I couldn't say no. I mean, it was the sword came down. I said yes. And that moment when Jonathan and Linda and I discovered that we weren't just looking at one another's life stories and our own, but that we were sharing this amazing collaboration and friendship of being participants in this journey. And it has been an unbelievable journey the last 20 some years. So I can't thank you enough, Linda. You are a soul sister, and we've traveled together and are continuing to, and bless you all. And thank you again, Mary and Linda, and for all of you who've been part of Linda's life. I feel touched and moved by it all. God bless you.
Thank you.
Jennifer. So Ardas?
Well, hi, Pingla. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Ardas.
Hi. Well, I'm pretty overwhelmed by tonight. My heart is so open that you both came into my life when I was so young, in my early 20s. And you scoop me up and bring me to St. Mary's College. And you introduced me at that incredible brain conference at UC Berkeley campus to Waldorf World, which then, of course, I bring into my teaching at St. Mary's College. And of course, I take it before that into my own teaching in the classroom. So I might be one of the early ones to try and bring Waldorf education into the public school. All the yoga we did at your home, Elena, with Jim Moffitt, all the travels in the car with you, Linda, from place to place, all the experiences of loving Paul and Kirsten, all of it that just shaped me. The Waldorf world actually recreated our childhoods, Doug's and mine, brings us Kieran, our daughter, brings us a place of community, and just You know, Linda, in those early years, you and Elena are in my life, and now in these later years of my eldership, here you are again
Amazing.
in such a profound way with the recent biography classes that we took with Art, just feeling so at home with both of you. You've always been a sister to me, Linda, always been a mentor. Elena, you've always been a great teacher for me. And I'm just really grateful to be on this tonight and to have known Kirsten and to have held her when she was a baby. And I want you to know, Linda, that my older sister Barbara prays for you and Kirsten every night and has done that for years. So just a deep bow to all of you tonight, to your community there, to Jennifer. I felt such a connection with you in Tucson, and then you up and move. But hey, I just know it goes on, and that I know that I have you in my life, and I will reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Ardas. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was you.
Okay, see, we just are Zooming. That's probably where Zoom came from. All of a sudden, we realize we're Zooming into each other's lives. Anyone who would like to share some words?
I will.
Marty, go ahead.
I've been in such a bad mood all week, which I'm never in a bad mood. And this is exactly what I needed tonight. Thank you, Mary and Linda and all of you for being here. I'm about to turn 63. So, you know, I'm really like trying to figure out like, what has this all been about and what am I going to do next? So thank you for always shedding light on the life journey. And Linda, I think before I crossed the Rainbow Bridge, I said to myself, at 42, you're going to hook up with Linda, because I managed to meet Kirsten and Paul before I met you at the Linden Hills Co-op when they would come in and fill up the water jug. And the friend from France, I remember. And then I finally got to you. And there isn't anyone dearer in the whole world than you. And the space that you open up for human beings when you are present with them is a gift that very few people I have met have. And that allowing for the whole person who you recognize to be fully present, that space that you create again and again and again, everywhere you go with everyone you meet, is what the world needs more of. So I hope that we can all learn to emulate you so that we can all have more of that in the world. But I am forever grateful for everything you've been to me. And this was really fun and inspiring. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, dear Marty. Oh, I never bring Kleenex even now. It's not. Who else would like to share?
Oh, it's Jay. I'll just say a short thing. I'll keep it short. I keep remembering the moment in your accident when you came back to the hospital in Minnesota. And I took my turn. I think it was the first night we spent in the room with you. And so you said, Jay, he says, like, my life is still in balance. You may not even remember these things. So you say my night, and I say, well, I guess, we'll see. And then so later that night, during the night, you know how in the hospital they come to wake you up to see if to take your temperature. And so the person came in and you said, oh, what's your name? To him. It's like, I'm Linda, still in there. And then the next day, once it was the day we had our breakfast, you said, you know, Jay, we have got to get that flyer out for the painting. I said, oh yes, Linda. that, that is very important. We'll get right on that. And so that's when I knew you were going to be here. That was a very sweet moment for me. And
I remember the juicing. She brought her juicer to the hospital and made me juice. And I couldn't eat, so I could have juice. So I remember still the juicer. So thank you, Jay.
oh, you're welcome. So,
Anyone
yeah,
else would like to share?
nice. It was a nice moment, and I thought you might not even remember.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so
still
much.
love you, and Nadia sends her love,
Oh,
and
you.
so
You know, before I have to leave, I also want to say, Linda, that I have wonderful pictures in my old scrapbooks of your wedding with Paul, of your dancing and you're stretching your arms out during that time, of that incredible trip we took with Paul and you and me, and I can't remember the friend's name, to Boston, John, and going into Walden Pond and attending the Steiner Institute. So I have all those pictures.
Oh, well, to be continued. I want to make sure we can hear from everyone. Is there anyone else who wants to share?
I'll be very brief. You know, you realize, Linda, that they have discovered a new planet. And so, you know, it doesn't necessarily end at 84 either. So
Oh, good.
it's a little more research for you to do.
I'm finding that out too. Oh,
I wanted to say to Linda, just, you know, in a way, it's like beyond words what it means to me having you as a friend. And we did meet way back when, I think it was the first time Mireille was there teaching painting, the Hauschka painting. And we met in the class on Como Avenue. And then shortly after that was the Thanksgiving that you went out to New York where the accident happened. And so I had only just met you. And so most of the time I've known you has been post that time. And, you know, like I say, it's kind of beyond words. You've been such a kind teacher and a friend and a fellow traveler. And I love how you're such an example of living an authentic life. And I just appreciate it. It's like, I'm so happy that there's a Linda Bergh out there in the world, and that people get to experience her, and just sending my love in this new phase that you're in.
Thank you, Donna.
My recollection, Linda, when I met you was at the St. James Church in the late 80s, because I came to see what Waldorf School was all about. And I had a maybe 4-year-old at that time. And I went into your class and you had like a sand tray with all these little figures on it, and the kindergarten students were all around. And I remember being it was like magic. And I just wanted to be in that class. I just wanted to be a kindergartner and go through that whole, it just brought me in it. And I found it enthralling. I don't know if that's the word, enthrall. Anyway, and then all of a sudden, there you are with your snow pants on, the bibs. And you were all going outside to go sledding, but you stopped to talk with me and tell me a little bit about Waldorf education. Meanwhile, I'm watching Mary Lou in the next room bake bread. And the whole thing was just such an unusual and really wonderful experience for me. And that was the beginning of my connection with you and with Waldorf education. And I'm so grateful for the many times our lives have intertwined and for that initial experience, which just brought me in. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. It's so nice to hear these stories.
Sandy LaGrega, would you like to talk?
Yes.
Oh,
Hi. Thank you, Dennis. Hi, Linda. Hi, everyone. I live in North Carolina and I just finished my biography and social art training at Sunbridge. And I met Linda in Boulder, Colorado at the National Home Funeral Alliance conference. And it's probably about 10 years ago, maybe 12. I'm not good with dates. That's not very good for a biography and social art worker, not to be good with dates. But anyway, I took her little session, and it was a really difficult conference. But this was I was thinking about leaving. Several people were thinking about leaving, and I took Linda's session, and it was just amazing. And I went up to her afterwards and said, I had no idea who Linda Bergh was, no idea who this being was. I said, oh, you must have taken the biography and social art training. And she was so kind and didn't brag and didn't tell me really who she was. And ever since then, we met again in New York at another conference. And I wanted to go to the worldwide biography conference. And I didn't want to go by myself. So I heard that Linda Bergh and Jennifer Fox were going. And I asked, they didn't really know me. And I asked them if I could go. And they both said, yes, yes, yes. And ever since then, we have really, truly been soul sisters. And I don't know how I got to be friends with Linda and Jennifer. I don't know how this happened. So it's so wonderful. And this whole presentation was absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Linda. And thank you, Mary. It's beautiful. Thank you. And it went by so fast. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Who would like to share? I'd love to hear any of your voices.
I'll share a few words, especially going after Sandra. And I see myself on the board between Sandra and Mary. It's very touching. Sandra and I did the biography training together, and Mary and I have done biography work here, and Leah's here too. And Kathleen Bowen. So it's very heartwarming. And I've heard so much about you, Linda, from Sandra. So I also wanted to go after she spoke. But I also have met you, and I did also Crossing Threshold workshop with you years ago. And I just saw you, actually, I believe it was this week. And Mary had just told me about this upcoming event. So it was like, wow, here you were, you appeared like magic. And Mary, I do so want to thank you for the presentation you both put together, but really felt like just seeing that swoop and the pictures and your storytelling and your questioning, Mary, you created a real life through a rainbow is how I saw it. And I think that Pot of Gold was maybe your painting at the end, Linda, that beautiful sun over the water. And I saw you in the green. That's where I saw you, the reflection of the sun in the water, that the green really stood out for me. I want to say too, that when I did see you this week, we were talking about the divine feminine in the Sophia circle, and I was struggling with my son reaching a certain age, but then what do I do with my age? And now I felt like this more eldering and sort of, and you were very comforting, of course, as you were made to be just that. You came right there in the moment for me. But I bring that up here because witnessing all this beautiful elder holding, I will say, with all your friends and all the timeline is just so supportive, so loving, so filling. I only hope I have just some of that, you know, as I go through time, but it's so encouraging and such a gift. I wanted to also say that when I did do that workshop with you, you had offered your daughter's poetry books, and I remember that I did get her book, and I had it, and I felt very touched when you mentioned how important her work was, and you brought it around to all the schools. And I just wanted to invite you, it came to me here that perhaps this whole rainbow of your life here is calling for a poem of hers to be a part of, to bring her in. But the question I have, and not to put you on the spot, maybe it's just something to think about, is maybe what would her poem be here for you now?
Oh. I think I'll take that to the angels with me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
I can share. I'm Shannon Jackson Arnold calling in from Wisconsin. And I met Linda almost exactly around my second lunar node when she came to teach biography work and a class on death and dying in Wisconsin. And it was my birthday gift to myself to attend. And Linda, you've just been one of the most important teachers in my life. Your example, your inspiration, the way you've lived your life has given me courage many times, has given me, I remember you talked about biography being a way of befriending your life. And I feel like meeting you and biography work at that time and all the growth and exploration I've done since from 37 to 51 and you being a thread in and out, you know, whether it was the biography facilitators training or some of the small group work you did with some of us in Wisconsin, Parsival class. I mean, there's just, and your friendship and I feel so blessed to know you. I do feel like you've been a mothering presence to me in a way that I wasn't witnessed and seen by my own mother. And I think the blessing way you were at my house where you held me and sang to me the same song you sang to Kristen is probably one of the sweetest gifts I was ever given. And I'm excited to see what the next chart of the graph brings. Just thank you for your presence, your authenticity, your inspiration, and always sharing so from the heart and listening from the heart. Just such a gift. And Mary, what you two created here tonight was really beautiful. So thank you for inviting us all to witness it.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
I'll speak a few words. I'm not an effusive person, and that's always been an interesting difference between me and Linda, as it was between Nina and Kirsten. But through the years of working together with Linda, she really has helped me find my own voice. And I'm forever thankful for that. And amazed after knowing you all these years that I learned things tonight about your life that I didn't know. That was great. And yes, so thank you both for this evening. And we are connected forever.
We sure are. Thank you, Marianne.
Hello, Linda. And hi there, Mary. What an amazing evening you've put together. What a lot of work you've both done. This is really very beautiful. And the words that I've heard this evening, the rainbow and the echo of your sight and your seeing has really caught my attention and my imagination. I came along, I was actually told that I ought to meet you when I wasn't in Minnesota. I left Minnesota to go to Michigan to a little conference and was asked, well, do you know these? Actually, it was you and also Marianne and Dennis. Do you know these people? And I said, well, no, I was a parent of young children. And well, they're in your community. You need to know them. And then I recognized you at a little class when we had not yet met. I saw you and called your name, and yes, it was truly you. So that was a special moment for me, like, oh, I found her, this person I was supposed to meet. And one of the striking characteristics of all of my experiences with you has been echoed in your drawings this evening over and over again, and in your words, this sense of love and heart that is present and surrounding your experience and what you bring. And it's truly a gift to have the opportunity to embrace this learning, which can also be very intellectual and esoteric, with an open heart. What an amazing combination to bring those aspects together, and what a gift you've given to all of us who've been able to do that with you. So I really want to thank you for that. When I was invited to join the Foundation Studies program, as it was just beginning, I was expecting my first child. So I never made it into that first year. I'm in the second rung of classes all the way through, and I've taken many, many classes with you since that beginning. And that journey was one that when we began it, I was told, oh, well, what we're doing here is we're starting this Foundation Studies program. It's like what other people have other places. So, I thought, oh, great. Well, I'll do this thing that people are doing other places, and jumped right in, wholeheartedly jumped in. And only after taking many classes and then traveling to other places and taking other classes did I learn how unique our experiences and how rich our learning has been in comparison to what some people were sharing their experiences to have been. So truly a heartfelt thank you to you, and enough words from me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
This is John Fuller. I want to thank you, Linda, for something that I don't think has been adequately recognized in your work. Many people have emphasized how much your teaching and your presence and being have influenced their lives. And I know that knowing you has certainly opened vistas and doors in my own soul that can't be closed or can't be narrowed again. So in addition to your capacity as a superb biography facilitator, I'd also have to say you're very effective biography instigator. Because my biography will not be the same from knowing you. It will have changed in dramatic ways. So I want to acknowledge that instigator aspect of the work that you do. Thank you for everything.
And of course, it's your own instigator that got instigated by my instigator.
Which of course is the root etymology of the word to educate, bring forth, to draw out. So,
Right.
and Marty really explained that beautifully, how you open up that space. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you so much.
That's so great.
Would anyone else like to share before we close? I think we're gonna, one more person that said has some words they'd like to share. I appreciate everyone's presence. There's no words needed.
I'd like to say a few words, Linda.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have that deep history that a lot of people have here with you, but I can honestly say that meeting you and taking that first biography class with you completely changed the trajectory of my life and my healing journey. Because at the time I was dealing with trying to figure out how to come to terms with some really complex and significant trauma. And you gave me a framework while holding me with love and compassion. And when I heard some of the pain and experiences that you had in your own life and saw how you could still hold such love and light in your being and for the people in your life, it gave me a completely different perspective on how I could start to see healing happening in my own. And I will be forever grateful to you for that.
Thank you, Judith. I'll never forget the quilt. Well, we've had a long evening and it's in the East Coast, it's really late. So God bless you all for staying on. And Mary, do you think it's time? Should we close with a song that you suggested?
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time.
Okay. So here's a song that many of you know from the classes. If we, the people, live our lives as if they are a song for singing of light, providing music for the stars to be dancing circles in the night. Dancing circles in the night. Our lives are providing music for the stars to be dancing circles in the night. Thank you for all the love and for all the sharing and for hanging out, hanging until the end here. And Dennis, maybe we can stop the recording now and make it.
Thank you everyone for
Good night,
showing
everyone.
up.
Good night. Good
It's
night.
wonderful